Hello and welcome. We will get started in just a few minutes. We're thrilled that you're here today for resolution retention, joined by one of my favorite clients, Roberta at New Mexico State University. And we'll get started in just a second. Welcome to everybody. As we are letting people get settled, we do have the webinar chat open today. Please feel free to ask any questions there. If we're not able to follow up with you in the webinar, we will certainly follow up after the webinar. And again, thank you for being here. It is January of 2026, and as we all think through our New Year's resolutions, we wanted to jump on board and talk about retention, because retention is one of those things that falls to really all of us, and it feels like a big old marathon. And without planning and without steps and without strategic intention to run that marathon, or like any race, we can sometimes fall a little flat. And I am honored to be joined by Roberta, who's one of our amazing partners at New Mexico State University, to share the success and the intention that she and her team at New Mexico State University have brought to retention efforts truly across campus at this point, utilizing IntelliBoard and Canvas data to ensure that everybody has the same insights to support student success with the ultimate goal of retention. So Roberta, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get started. A little bit about who we are at IntelliBoard. If you haven't heard about us before, we seek to transform LMS data, so Canvas, Blackboard, Brightspace, Moodle, into action. The final grade of an SIS system, or a final grade of a student, or a final outcome of a course is important. And often we still want to be able to intervene in term before it's too late. A student gets that final grade posted and they're already on academic probation, that changes their persistence and retention. They don't have access to those grades. That changes retention efforts. So we are looking to surface those critical in-term insights from the breadth and the depth of the LMS data to transform and drive quick strategic action. And New Mexico State University, starting with the global campus, has done that exceedingly well. And so a little bit about our journey together, and then Roberta, I'll let you share a little bit more too, but we have been so impressed with New Mexico State University's global program and now beyond, their strategic commitment to their global program. And Roberta, I'm not going to do it justice, so you can jump in too. But one of the things that has struck me is how you all talk about how students who are part of the online global distance learning program should have the same experience as a traditional student on campus, the same resources, the same support, the same high touch, student success centric experience. And when that is happening in a distance program, that can be harder to do. But the care and intention that you all have put in has driven out these dashboards, and then also has gotten to expand to wider campus. So you all have been clients with us since 2022. You started with the global program. And now over the course of really intentional decision-making, that's gone to the wider campus with two priority data points, grades and access. What am I missing? What would you also brag upon yourself and the global program in New Mexico State University with our IntelliBoard project?
So I think the success of NMSU Global has been greatly enhanced by, joining forces with IntelliBoard. We have been using the Canvas LMS for over 13 years, and so we had all of this data that was just basically being siloed. There was no way for us to access that data. There was no way for us to make sense of any of that data. And by combining with IntelliBoard and getting all the parties involved, we weren't the only ones, my team wasn't the only ones that were making decisions on what we needed to focus on the data points that we needed to focus on in order to build out these dashboards. So Amy did mention that we have a high touch, um, I don't even know what you want to call it, we're constantly in contact with our students, if you will. Every single department is very hands-on. We have been able to, by combining with IntelliBoard and creating these dashboards, which are our at-risk students and then our inactivity dashboards, we're able to monitor the data live. We're able to get the information into the hands of those global success mentors so that they can reach out to the student. Whether it be an academic issue, whether it be a food insecurity issue, we're able to get them in touch with the right departments within the New Mexico State University system, and then we're able to get their mind refocused back on track and re-engaging in their courses. And we've found tremendous success with this. And like Amy said, it was August of last year, so it's been a little bit over 6 months that we finally expanded system-wide. So even our community colleges now are utilizing IntelliBoard. They're utilizing the dashboards that we had created within NMSU Global. We have seen also, because of this high-touch model, we have seen 50% increase in enrollment year over year. So that is really, really, really amazing numbers. And IntelliBoard has been very helpful and very pivotal in helping us get to those goals and to get our students re-engaged and keep the level of the students that we were losing down to a minimum.
Thank you, Roberta. And I want to just pause for a second because there's so much that goes into retention, and we'll talk about more of your strategy in a little bit, but the data points that you all are utilizing are the access to those courses and the current grade in those courses. And I think the beauty of it is those are high impact data points to be able to talk to students about, but you all have layered the same dashboards to the student success mentor. So like an academic advising office, the instructors also have the same dashboards. The program chairs have those same dashboards. Academic leadership has those same dashboards. And truly, I think we're up to 6 dashboards based off different semesters, and then the athletes, but it's the same focal points, the same dashboards that are then being provisioned to all of these different entities so that the dashboard is the same, the data is the same, but it's really creating this campus culture around supporting these students. And no matter what who that student bumps into, their athletic coach, their academic advisor, their instructor, all has the same information to support their success and be informed. And that intentional layering of human touch around these students is so intentional and also really hard to do if you don't have a scalable solution in a report that has all of those permissions kind of already all built out. So thank you for sharing with us. I'll go on to the next slide. And I know that this is, like we all know these retention stats. But I just wanted to focus us on 3 from June of this past year and also September of 2024. We've heard a lot about the enrollment cliff over the last couple of years of a reduction of students entering into colleges in the landscape. We do see in September of 2024 that the undergraduate enrollment growth is recovering a little bit, 4.7% year over year for fall 2024. Now, if I see that 4.7% of increased enrollment, I also know that there's an increase of retention. But as we're growing, institutional stability still depends on keeping those students enrolled term to term. Roberta, you said like 50% of enrollment increase, which is amazing at New Mexico, obviously ahead of the 4.7 there. And I know that you all have the focus of, okay, this enrollment boom is here based off of our programs. And then how do we maintain the students' persistence and retention throughout their years in the programs? Looking at the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center again, and this is June 2026, 1 in 7 students don't return for their second semester that fall into spring. So I don't know where you all are looking at your institutions right now as we just start spring 2026, but having the awareness of that fall to spring rate also helps inform what needs to be happening and the way that we need to utilize this data to ensure that those students, the students who have come back for spring persist on to fall 2026 and then moving forward. And then the second year retention rate, again, nationally is only 69.5% for students who are returning to year 2 at that institution. And we recognize that these are national and not necessarily just yours, but having these place points and knowing where we need to head is hugely important. We did just put a blog post out, which is the QR code of the cost of waiting when retention data comes too late. We would encourage you all to take a look at that. It will also be as a part of the recording when we send that out. So what we talk a lot about is the risk of ignoring those learner metrics in term, right? So this is what Roberta and her team are not doing, right? They've escalated those and they've put them right front and center with not only dashboards, but also notifications to further communicate this. But we have a disengaged learner for whatever reason, right? Like it may be that truly it's an academic risk. Roberta shared there's also lots of different risks that students are, from health to food insecurity to adult learners who are responsible for lots of other things. They're disengaged for a reason, and we're missing that oversight, not intentionally, right? There's no more caring people than the people who work in higher education, but it's about getting the right data into the right hands of the people at the right time. And so how do we leverage that LMS data that's typically set up by course, and instructors have access to the course, but there's not always an easy way for an academic advisor to see all of their students and their courses in a timely manner. That means, go ahead, Roberta.
Oh, no. I was just clearing my throat. My apologies.
Oh, no worries. And then that can accidentally be a delayed intervention, right? Without having that data top of mind, or that data 2 weeks out or after midterms, we're not able to say, hey, Roberta, I noticed that you're not accessing your course. Is it a Wi-Fi issue? Is it an access issue? Has something come up? If you're not in your course, I know that your grades are going to be not at what they need to be. Oh, I see that you're in your courses, but you're really struggling with quizzes, or you're really struggling with turning things in, what's going on? And without those strategic interventions, and those interventions being or who needs an intervention updated for us, we have a missed retention opportunity within the term. So to be able to change our end outcomes, we want to be able to be strategic in term with the data that we do have. And we want to automate that data in a way that surfaces the most at-risk students first. So without interim visibility, risk jeopardizing retention and compliance, but we're here, right, with these dashboards to fix that. So academic advisors, and then what the little asterisks for New Mexico State University and the global campus have gone beyond this. So it's not only an academic advisor, it's an athletic coach. It is a instructor. It is academic leadership. And Roberta, will you talk a little bit, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but will you talk a little bit about your thought process and the institution's thought process about going beyond the global success mentors having this data?
Yeah, so in reference to something you said earlier, Amy, where you said about the Global Success Mentors getting the data in their hands. So the way that we have it up, and it's a wonderful setup because they're not getting a lot of data that's not relevant to the students that are assigned to them. They're actually getting these reports that are based off the students that are assigned to them. And that is so helpful that they don't have to dig through or filter out or do any of that. They just get a daily report that says, these are your students that are assigned to you. These are the ones that have been identified at risk or inactive in any of your courses. So I think by doing that, we're also giving that other department, a leg up. They're not having to waste, their precious time in reference to, weeding through the data, if you will. They're able to look at those reports, make those calls, send out those emails, text messages, get those students re-engaged and back in their courses. In reference to the athletics, I'm so glad that you brought that up because I wasn't sure how to mix that in. But the athletic department reached out to us and they said, and everybody knows that when you have student athletes, of course, you have to report to the NCAA. It's very, very important that we're providing the most up-to-date, accurate information in reference to student eligibility when it comes to the NCAA because we don't want to get in trouble. When they approached us, they said that they were using a tool. They were getting a 30% response rate from faculty basically submitting like a report, status report on the student, but it was maybe like in the middle of the semester or towards the end of the semester. Now that we have been able to launch those dashboards with all of the parameters that athletics needed to monitor, our athletic department is able to monitor their eligibility on a daily basis. They have that real-time data. They said that this has been a game changer and that they never thought that they would be able to do anything like this. So, by getting that feedback, we know what we're doing is working, and we know that we can take these dashboards that we created. And like I said previously, we got everybody at the table, different departments. What is it that you focus on within your department in order to try and identify those students that are at risk? What are the main items that you're looking at? And from all of that pot of information that we were given, we were able to pull out the most important things that would be able to say, yes, this student is at risk. They need the immediate contact. Hey, this student hasn't been in their course in over 7 days. You probably should reach out. What's going on here? So by doing that, I think that we have gone beyond and we've been able to extend, and we have extended campus-wide So now that we have launched campus-wide, we launched the LTI within Canvas, we are able to engage department heads. Department heads can now look at the data that's relevant to them that falls within their program. They can look at all their courses that fall within their program. They can look at the student data. We've got faculty that are able to access this tool now that can see, focus on their courses. And this gives them an overall, instead of having to go one by one within Canvas itself, they're able to access these dashboards and it gives them, a snapshot, and they know that the data is updated and it's up to date and they don't have to wait, for other types of data to process. Some of these data things, like Banner, for instance, they only update once a day. And with IntelliBoard, we're able to have that, real-time data that somebody can go in there and look and make a decision. And this is what we have been striving for quite some time. And this has become possible because of IntelliBoard and the way that they have been able to work with us and using the dashboards that they have pre-built, and we've been able to tweak them, apply, our filters and get it tweaked to whatever department or whatever other, athletics, needs to do. So we're also got our program coordinators that get notifications with the students that are enrolled in their programs. The information engineering technology we're currently monitoring, the math, the general business, the management, the criminal justice. And so these program coordinators are also able to look at kind of like the success of their programs that they oversee. And they can also view where intervention might need to be, or they can turn around and ask faculty questions about the courses. I see that, there's some students here and they're all from this particular class. Is something going on? So this is another way for not only for our students to get help and assistance, but we can also see patterns and try and reach out to our faculty to see what might be going on, if maybe they're overwhelmed or maybe they've got something going on within, their life or managing, family and all these different things that everybody's managing right now, that everybody is so overwhelmed. I do want to throw in there that what I just mentioned, we've also been able to identify patterns of maybe there's all the students in this one course are at risk because they have very low grades. We've been able to identify grading patterns. Like I said, at that time, the program coordinator, the department head can go ahead and reach out to that instructor to find out what's going on. The other thing that we've been able to identify, and it's been so helpful, is courses that don't really need to be monitored, such as, PhD courses that don't really meet in Canvas. They, they have one-on-one meetings with their faculty advisors and things like that. So because of that and because of those patterns that have risen by doing these and looking at these, we've also been able to exclude courses that we don't need to monitor. Again, handing back precious time to our global success mentors, to academic advisors, to department heads that don't really need to be looking at those courses because of the fact that they don't actually meet in Canvas. So it's always going to throw back data saying all of these students are at risk. So we don't waste the time in trying to reach out to them because we've identified those patterns and we've actually removed those courses from our reporting.
Absolutely. And we covered, there's so many good things that you shared in there, Roberta. I wanted to jump back to a couple slides and kind of place make for everybody. What I heard you say that I think is so valuable is on how you brought the strategic plan to life, like bringing together your end users and getting
Yes.
feedback from them from the onset. And I think that I remember even years ago, we would be like, Stephen said that he needs this, right? And Stephen being one of the success coach leads, right? So identifying who those players are, who's going to invest, who's going to give that honest feedback. Because again, what you so clearly articulated was like, we gave them the most important relevant data to them. They're not data scientists. They don't need to crunch things. They don't necessarily, they want to be able to help their students, right? And so to organize this around, let's strip away as much as we can, as much noise as we can to give them the data points that they need and only the students that they need was very intentional. I also know that from, our revisions of these dashboards, similar to identifying campus trends, which we'll talk about in a second, we also said, I don't need to see those people who are doing who are in those courses. Like, just kick them out of the report completely. I just want the almost to-do list of the success mentors on a daily basis so that they don't have to go back and go through the students who are doing what they need to be doing, but give me the list of the students that I need to go out and contact. So really simplifying this for your end users is something that you all have done exceedingly well. And then also the commitment to the revision, because you're so right. Like, that data illuminates, having access to that data illuminates other changes that can be made. Do we need to pull these courses out because they're PhD programs and we don't expect them at all? And then the flip side, like, this is an entry-level course that I would expect more engagement in. How do we then support that with policies, procedures, general understanding as well? And you all have done that incredibly well. What is the most meaningful outcomes for you as the person who is putting this together, right? You're kind of the orchestrator of providing access to this data. So for your role, but then also for New Mexico State University, the global program and beyond, what are some outcomes?
I think some of the most meaningful outcomes, and you know this, Amy, I was, working already with with NMSU Global as in academic technology, and we were already working with IntelliBoard. And at the same time, I was still a student. I was still a graduate student. So I saw both sides of the spectrum. And I think one of the main things for me, you know, I was a single mom. I did have to have, that extra job. I did have my children that I needed to take care of. Plus, I needed to devote my, quality time to my education and things like that. And I think the thing that has been most meaningful to me, being able to be part of both sides, is that to see later on the success stories that have come out of NMSU Global and to hear the feedback that the students provide to us saying, if it wouldn't have been for you reaching out to me to finding out what was going on in my life, I don't think I would have been able to finish this program. And to me, that makes all my stress, everything that I do, here at Academic Technology at New Mexico State, all worth it. Building things like this hand in hand with IntelliBoard has been an amazing experience. And it has really, really opened the eyes of others within our department, within global, within the NMSU campus on how important the data is. Yeah, we can, pull reports from other data reporting, but what really does that data mean? Like you said, Amy, we're not all data analysts. We can't just look at a printout and go, oh, this, and this, and pull out those points. We need to have those strategic conversations with everybody involved, and we need to listen to their feedback. I think at the end of every semester, another one of the things that I like to do with my team is we'll reach out to the departments, to the program coordinators, and say, how can we make this better? Are there any data points that you feel would make the data more relevant or easier for you to make those data-driven decisions, and provide us with that feedback. Let's see what we can do. Let's work together and let's get the most clear data in front of you so that you can make those data-driven decisions. So, whether the data be in the hands of executives or in our institution, and other administrators, department heads, provosts, the president, everybody now is looking at all of these dashboards, and we have had some tremendous, tremendous feedback on. So just to be clear, we have only launched the two dashboards that we worked on. We curated, got them as good as we could get them, and that is what we launched system wide. We have departments now reaching out saying, we want to monitor this. I know, Amy, you and I had a conversation this morning. We're currently working on an outcomes, and this is going to be an outcomes dashboard. This is going to be for our to help with HLC for accreditation and things like that. So these are a lot of different things. They don't, the library in IntelliBoard is immense. If you can think of a data point that you want to monitor, I can almost guarantee that the IntelliBoard library has got a dashboard ready for you to go, or some reports or some tables that would make your life a whole lot easier. And by having those, already built, you can actually, choose those, get your data, and then start, tearing away the layers, if you will, and getting down into that nice, clear data, so that if I send this to, like I said, the Global Success Mentor, this person knows exactly the data that they're looking at and who they need to reach out to. The program coordinators, they're looking at the overall success of the students that are in their programs, and how can they better interact with all the other parties involved, with the faculty, with whoever has got that hands-on touch with the students. And New Mexico, NMSU Global has a very hands-on experience. So, financial aid is contacting you, reaching out to you. The Global Success Mentors. We have other things that are set into place where we can reach out to the students. So you have all of these things set in place, but in order to make that happen, you have to have, let's say, a main hub where you're getting this data, where you're providing it to those people that need to have that hands-on interaction with those students. And they're able to do so in such a timely manner because of the data that we have been able to procure using IntelliBoard, digging down into that data, peeling away those layers, and most importantly, getting all the parties involved, all the parties that are going to be using this and looking at this. Because as a builder, as a developer, as somebody that is going to be using IntelliBoard in a totally different manner, I need to focus on what is going to be right for the end user. So the way that they're going to be using the data, the way they need to see the data. And so it's all about the end user experience. I mean, I can say this is what I need to see on my end, but that's not going to work for the end user. So we've been able to work together closely with IntelliBoard and all of the amazing team, Amy, Ruslan, everybody, Becky, April, everybody has just been so, I mean, the level of customer support I have not seen in years, hands down. They're always there when we need them. Having worked with other applications and other softwares, I've got to say that 150% IntelliBoard has got to be one of the best application softwares that I have ever worked with. And that
You're
does,
so kind, Roberta.
and I'm not just talking about the technology itself, but I'm also talking about the people. The people are also what help to create the success. And I couldn't be more grateful.
And us for you. I think it's been an incredible journey alongside with you. I like to say that our clients, especially our great clients like you, Roberta, are our teachers. You know, we're all educators in this together. Education will always have strong foundations uh, within the platform, and that's evolving. And so thank you for the strategic and thoughtful work that you all have done, the questions that you all have asked to curate, refine, move on, expand, continue. I do hope that our attendees take away several different pieces of the conversation today of really digging in, listening, simplifying, and expanding for overarching retention efforts, because it truly does take all of us. And I think retention numbers and enrollment numbers often look like numbers, right? That we're worried about them. We're worried about that percentage. We're worried about what it means. But at the end of the day, those are all of our students, and they each have their own set of opportunities, lives, impact. And the fact that, you know, we get to be a tool that helps educators empower those students is really just truly humbling. So again, thank you for being on the journey with us, Roberta. As always, you are wonderful, and we give you all thanks. Thank you for being with us today, and we'll definitely get this recording and the PowerPoint and the blog post out to you all to start making a retention framework at your institution. So again, thanks so much for being with us. Best wishes for spring 2026 and onwards, friends. Take good care.